Those similarities are not coincidences, says Becker. He says Hinckley studied Mark David Chapman, who shot John Lennon, and then Bardo in turn studied Hinckley. Becker is now studying all of them to help protect his very high-profile clients. Part of his database is contained in these files, the hundreds of thousands of threats he has evaluated for clients over the past 20 years. Some of your clients get 5, 6, 7, and one of your clients gets 10,000 letters a week.
That's right. And out of those letters, the vast majority of which are perfectly reasonable fan letters, there's a population that of letters that we have to evaluate because they're inappropriate or alarming or scary or they have some bizarre enclosure.
At any one time, Becker and his staff are monitoring 300 people who pose threats to his clients, as many as 15 of whom he considers potential assassins, men like Michael Perry.
The first 2 bodies were found in this house at 600
Our officers swarmed to the scene and the search began.
Just 2 houses away on 7th Street, the bodies of 3 more victims were found.
Michael Perry murdered 5 members of his family, shooting his parents through the eyes with a shotgun. When he fled Lake Arthur, Louisiana in 1983, he set up a nationwide manhunt. It appeared he intended to kill again, because he left behind a death list. On the list, Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor and Becker's client, singer Olivia Newton-John.
We knew that he was coming back to our client's house or going to Washington, D.C. to kill a Supreme Court Justice. He was uncertain about which he wanted to do. And during the time that we had police officers blocking off the streets and helicopters in the air around my client's house, suddenly we see somebody in the bushes, and everybody descends on this person, and they handcuff him right away, and they turn him around, and they say, come up. They say to me, identify him. And as I get close to him, I recognize him, but it's not the murderer we're looking for. It's another mentally ill pursuer. And 2 days later, at 11 o'clock at night, we find in the wilderness outside my client's home a sort of shelter that someone's put together, and in there are photographs of her, and we say, oh, geez, this could be where the murderer is, and we wait, and through the brush comes this guy. Everybody jumps on him, and he's handcuffed, and it's not the murderer, it's another mentally ill pursuer.
As for Perry, he was arrested in Washington, D.C. before he could make good on his threat to kill Justice O'Connor. Becker has used Perry's case and thousands of other threats against his clients to develop a computer program called Mosaic. Mosaic evaluates threats and predicts who is most likely to carry out a violent act. The volume of threats Becker deals with makes Mosaic crucial.
We get about 50,000 of those a year, 50,000 separate pieces of material that would alarm anyone, and that might include death threats or razor blades or body parts or blood or animal parts or facsimile bombs, all kinds of things that are designed to get attention, and those all need to be evaluated.
If they're sending animal parts or blood, I don't need Mosaic to tell me we got a problem here, do I?
That's true. However, interestingly, some of it is counterintuitive. I'll give you an example. If a public figure like the governor of this state gets a death threat, I will kill you on Tuesday, that communication actually portends less risk than many other kinds of communications. Death threats are not pre-incident indicators for public figure attack.
That's hard to believe. Not Lee Harvey Oswald, or Jack Ruby, or James Earl Ray, or Sirhan Sirhan, or Arthur Bremer, or even Squeaky Frome.
Not one public figure attack in the United States, going back to the beginning of the media age, 1940, not one was preceded by a direct threat from that person.
Most of the time, those who would kill a public figure leave clues or they make a mistake, like Michael Perry, who successfully eluded a nationwide dragnet but was arrested for stealing a radio. It was only a few miles from his target. According to Becker, Bardo, too, could have been stopped.
A clearly mentally ill man travels thousands of miles twice, brings gifts, writes letters over a 2-year period, and acts on all this by showing up. If that isn't crossing the threshold behavior, then what is? It's important to realize that people who show up are a tremendously tiny minority compared to the millions who see someone's product, or the hundreds of thousands who are fans, or the tens of thousands who write letters. You just have hundreds who show up, and every one of them has taken such a step outside of normal behavior that every one of them needs to get your attention.
Robert John Bardo, the assassin, has some advice for the famous.
Just be careful about what you say. Don't let it be too nice. Just be cordial and courteous, but not too nice. Some things like your letter was the nicest and most real letter I've received. That's not the type of thing you tell a friend. It's because it makes them seem like they're the only one. And that's the way I thought I was the only one.
Gavin Becker has written a book about what he calls the survival signals that protect us from violence. As a measure of how concerned we all are about staying safe, that book, The Gift of Fear, has spent most of the summer on the bestseller list.